ago, I had this crazy idea of, well, I'll do a course that explains about photography and the business that would allow anyone who's got an interest in taking their possibly small wedding photography business to being full-time, or someone who hasn't even got a business, hasn't even photographed a wedding, but has an aspiration to become a wedding photographer. How to do it. And I don't mean how to make $10,000 next month. I don't mean how to take these wonderful, crazy, award-winning, world-class wedding photos. I mean the real life running a wedding photography business that will provide a full-time income and allow you to pursue your dreams. So that's what I'm working on. Today is a free introductory course. I'm going to talk about my business, how I do it, what I do, split into two parts, business and photography. And my style is this. Okay, it's no flashy gimmicks. There's no super behind the scenes videographers where I've spent tens of thousands on producing these wonderful videos. This is real life. So let me tell you first of all a little bit about me. First of all, the first thing you should know is I'm fully booked for next year. Well, no, not quite true. I've got 36 weddings booked for next year. I've got 2 people to see in the next couple of weeks. I'm probably going to end up with my normal kind of 40 weddings next year. That's 2024 I'm talking about. I've been doing this now since 2012 was when I started. You'll see how it takes more than just a few months to actually get the ball rolling, but we'll talk about that. So I've been doing this for over 10 years now. I don't want to blow my trumpet. I'm a normal guy. I just love photography. I'm reasonably good at it. I've won awards. I've been published in magazines. I'm rated #1 wedding photographer in Suffolk. Over 250 weddings and so on and so forth. So watch this video and then you can judge whether I know what I'm talking about. That's probably the best way to do this. So on the business side of things, on the proper course, okay, this is going to be, I'm thinking about 45 minutes to an hour, going through everything fairly quickly. So you'll see what I'm going to cover, what sort of depth we're going to get into, what you're going to learn, and you'll pick up some hopefully useful tips along the way as well. So it's split into business and photography. On the business side of things, I want to show you how to go from nothing, no clients, no bookings, nothing, to having, like myself, 40 weddings next year. That's the aim on the business side of things. On the photography side of things, how to go from someone who barely knows what an aperture is or what an f-stop is, to being someone who has complete confidence to go to a wedding in any location and get fantastic shots, no matter what the weather, what the venue is, how many guests, and just have that confidence and that ability to know that you can produce photos that are good enough, we'll come back to that, good enough to give to the client, and they're going to be, at the very least, very happy. That's the aim. We're going to start with business. And the reason I'm starting with business, and I will be doing this on the proper course as well, is because without knowing something about the business of wedding photography, how on earth can you become a wedding photographer? So the first thing is, fairly obviously, how do you get clients? And believe me, over the last 10 years, I've probably tried every single way there is of getting clients. Some of them work, some of them don't work. Some of them work this month, some of them don't work next month. It is really something where there's no simple, straightforward answer. It is a matter of doing everything and doing it well, not just sort of throwing as much stuff as you possibly can at the wall, but doing every part of this as well as you can and just simply believe, because even I can run ads or do some sort of promotion or do something. In fact, where are we now? Tuesday today, so Sunday, 2 days ago, I went to a wedding fair. Sometimes they work, we're going to talk about those. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. On this Sunday, it was raining all day long. It was hideous, cold, wet, windy, miserable, and we had, I think I counted eight couples in 3 hours came through the doors, of which I managed to speak to 5, of which I think 4 of them took my card and little promotional sort of leaflet thing. I doubt if I'll get any weddings out of that at all. Compare that to, I can remember one I did about 18 months to 2 years ago, where it was a bit earlier in the year. It wasn't a brilliantly hot day, but it was okay. The weather was good enough, and a different venue, admittedly. We had 40 couples come through the door, and they were literally queuing up to talk to me. And I booked, I think, probably 4 weddings. At the time, I probably spoke to 10 or 12 people, of which about 4. But so, even for me, some stuff works sometimes, other times it do exactly the same thing, doesn't work. Just believe that if you keep doing these things that we're going to talk about, it will work. So, what things am I talking about? Okay. Google Ads. In the next business section, in a few minutes' time, we're going to talk about website. But Google Ads to get people to your website. That's one way of getting business. Facebook ads. There are, I don't know, dozens and dozens of Facebook advertising gurus who will gladly take lots and lots of money off of you to teach you how to do Facebook ads. Well, you don't need to be that good. You need to know what you need to know, and that's all you need to know, and we'll cover that in the course in some detail. I'll cover it in a little bit more detail in a moment. YouTube ads, don't use those very often, but again, YouTube ads can work. Wedding fairs, I've just mentioned. One of the big ones, and this will help actually when we come to talk about the website as well, is free wedding site listings. So there are many sites where brides can go to register, get help with finding suppliers in their area, can get probably useful things like a diary planner and just sort of articles about planning your wedding, how to do it, what to avoid, what to do. And so it's some useful stuff from the bride's point of view. And I'm talking about the bride all the way through these lessons because I'm sorry guys, the groom, you're taking a back seat all the way through this. You can do bridal shoots, you can do free engagement shoots, anything that puts you in front of another, in front of a client, potential client. So let me just talk about those in a bit more detail. Facebook ads. Trying to just advertise your wedding business on Facebook is probably a complete and utter waste of time. I've never found that to be particularly successful, and I think Facebook is much better used as an engagement tool, something where you can ask people a question and they can come back to you. Just an idea. Again, in the course I'll give you lots more ideas, but just one idea. I did a post, a promoted post even, I don't think it was a proper ad even, a promoted post where I had, I think, about 10 photos, and I asked couples who were getting married what style, which of these photos did they like, would they rank them for me? And everyone who entered, I would put into a prize draw, and in a month's time I would go through all the names of people that had kindly ranked these photos. I would pick one out and they would get, I don't know, a 50% discount on a full day's wedding. something like that, something to encourage people to take the time, go through these photos, tell you which ones they like best in order. You'd enter them in the draw, possible 50% off a wedding. And that does two things. First of all, you actually get feedback about your photos, which is really useful. And obviously it's an enticement for a bride to take 3 or 4 minutes just to go through. And a lot of people on Facebook are scrolling through. They're not under any sort of time pressure. It's just they're looking through and they're scrolling through. And they see something about a wedding. They see wedding photos, potentially 50% off. Tell me what you think. And there's a lot of brides that will do that. And I've certainly had some success. And of course, you get all these people who coming back to you, and you know they're going to get married. You can follow up with them, say thank you. You weren't on this. You weren't the winner of the 50% discount on this occasion, but as a consolation prize, I'd like to offer you 20% off or something like that. It gives you a chance to make an offer to them. That's the sort of Facebook ad that works. Ads that say, I'm a wedding photographer, book me in tomorrow, you're not going to get any success at all. Similar with YouTube. Wedding fairs I've mentioned, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. They can be very expensive for very little return. I would say I haven't worked the numbers out, but on average, a wedding fair, and I've probably done 15 or 20, something like that sort of number. I would say on average, I book 1 wedding. If you go along with that kind of expectation, you shouldn't usually be too disappointed, but you're certainly not going to book a ton of weddings on average. Remember, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Magazine ads. I get my real weddings published in Wedding Magazine. So there's about 4 or 5 pages to do with one of the weddings that I've done. And I'll always run a 1/4 page ad at the end of that real wedding. The problem with print advertising, now I say print advertising, this isn't actually even now printed. It's a virtual magazine, it's a zine. It's sent out to, I think about 4,000 or 5,000 brides in my area each month. Is that right? Big area, bigger than I cover, but anyway, quite a decent number. Now, whether or not I actually get bookings from them directly, I don't know. Whether it just gets them to go to my website and it appears that they then come through my website, and I've no idea how they actually got to my website. I'm not sure. Don't spend too much money on print ads, magazine ads. They possibly work, but it's very, very difficult to track where they came from and therefore to know whether or not it does actually work. One of the biggest ones I touched on, and that is free wedding site listings. So pretend to be a bride, find every website you can that a bride might go to find suppliers, to find information about weddings, a wedding sort of planner thing that they can download to keep track of what they're doing. Look at all those websites, get yourself listed. A lot of them are free. Obviously, as you get higher up to the better sites, they start to charge, and by the time you get to the very best sites, they charge quite a lot of money. When you're starting, I would just go for the free ones. You will get a trickle of interested people from those. And the last thing I mentioned is bridal shoots. Every year, and sometimes twice a year, I organise a bridal shoot. So I ask, again on Facebook, any potential brides getting married, say next year, would you like to be my model at my bridal shoot? I will arrange with the wedding venue to use 1 or 2 rooms, hopefully the ceremony room, hopefully have a bedroom for the prep. get a hair and makeup artist involved, get flowers involved, get someone to give you a wedding dress. It takes a lot of organising, but get everyone to do it for free. It doesn't cost you any money, just some time organising it. You will get some great photos. You will get lots of practice at photography. All the suppliers you will obviously give photos to so that they can use them on social media, and it's all free. But of course, please just mention me as the photographer. It gets you out there, it gets your photos out there, it gets you in touch with possibly some brides who would like to be a model for the day. And there's one or two other ways which, again, of lesser importance that we will cover in the course. Business number 1, we're done. Photography 1. And I've got 3 business ones to talk about and 3 photo ones. So photo number 1. Let me just get one of my cameras out. This thing I have had over the last 2 years, well, since COVID, so just over 2 years. I think it's 5 photographers come along with me as second shooters. So they've got in touch with me saying, I'd like to get more involved in weddings. I've got this camera and so on. I've done some family shoots. I've done this and that. Could I come along with you as second shooter? We'll meet. I'll get their background, and most of the time I'm quite happy that they come along as second shooter. In every case, so 5 out of 5, they did not know how to use this. And when I say they didn't know how to use it, I'm not talking about turning it on and pressing the shutter. I'm talking about they didn't know how to use it in a wedding environment. A wedding environment is, from a photography point of view, very challenging. One moment you're photographing in a very dark room, a bit like this one, very dark, lots of shadows, maybe it's an oak panelled bedroom or something like that, and you're doing some prep shots and you walk out of there, and say it's a little cottage or something like that, you walk out and it's brilliant bright sunshine, and you've got to get some shots of the bride walking out the door. And you've got to be able to focus, expose, and do all the other stuff. And if that means changing anything on the camera, you've got to be able to do it as you're walking backwards, kind of getting ready for the next shot. You've got to know this thing absolutely inside out. And that was one of the biggest downfalls of these 5 second shooters that came along. They just did not know their gear well enough. So, number 1, learn your gear. Take your camera out on a wet rainy day, on a bright sunny day. Take some shots, spend half an hour. Go indoors in a fairly dark room, get some shots, close-up shots. Maybe use some close-up shots with some weird colours in, or put a red thing over the light. Get something weird going on. Then walk from there straight outside into daylight and get some shots. What do you need to change to get good shots in that situation? Get to know your camera. There is no time at a wedding to go into the menu. You cannot do that. You have to know, you have to assign buttons to do certain things. If you haven't got a camera that allows you to customize buttons to do all the other stuff you need to do, or it hasn't got a quick sort of eye menu which you set up with all the important things. On Nikon they do have a I don't use it, I don't need to use it on here, but Nikon cameras have got a my menu where you can set up, I don't know if you can see that, my menu, so you can put the menu things that you might need in there so you can find them quickly. Take the time, do all that, get it all set up so that it's a really quick and easy thing to do. These 5 photographers, it was quite useful for me to actually work with these guys, men and women. They all made it too complicated. Wedding photography, and probably this applies to most photography, needs to be simple. You need to be able to know, and I work with two cameras, and one's got usually a 15, the other a 24 on. But my favourite focal length for weddings is 35. I'll come on to that in a minute. So I might just have one camera and do practically all the shots for that part of the wedding with a 35. You need to be able to intuitively, and that comes through practice, know that I need to stand here, I need to get down a bit lower, and I need to just angle that up a little bit and get the shot. And you need to be able to do that and not fiddle with any buttons. You need to know that your focus mode is going to work for this part of the wedding. Sometimes I use face detect, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll have it on high speed burst. I don't use high speed, but sort of 6 or 7 frames a setting. So most of the time, obviously, on single shot. Most of the time, I use aperture priority. Sometimes you need to be on manual. And you need to know the next part of the wedding. I need to just change that to manual. So I just need to go into that, do that, and I'm now on manual. And I need shutter speed of that much. And I can now get the shot. And that is the extent of fiddling with your camera that you should need to do. You don't, just put that back again. You don't want to be going through menus and changing things and saying, oh, well, I think for this shot we'll do something. It's not going to work. You maybe need 3 different types of settings, and then of course we'll go through what they will be, that you can just quickly switch between. And in fact, on my other camera, my Z6 II, it's simply a matter of changing from U1, U2 or U3 on the top dial here, and that has got all the 3 settings, and plus I've got aperture priority and manual on there as well. So I've basically got 5 different types of, almost 5 different cameras, certainly 5 different complete sets of settings that I can change to for each different part of the wedding, should I need to. So keep it simple, but know your gear perfectly. Right, we'll talk a little bit about gear, and the first thing we'll talk about is lenses, because lenses are the most important part of getting good looking images. Let me just digress. The camera, that thing, is about usability. It's not these days about image quality, within reason. Within reason. It's about how it works. How easy is it going to make your life to get that shot? The thing that determines the image quality, mostly, is going to be the lens. And I'm an absolute firm believer in prime lenses. 24, 35, 50, occasionally, possibly an 85, but I could live without that. Possibly, occasionally, and something even shorter, maybe an 18. I've got an 18 to 35 zooms, but I just use that not as a zoom, I use it as an 18. But again, you can live without that. So really just 3 lenses. And they just having prime lenses will make you get better photos. I've seen other wedding photographers, for instance, at a registry office. There's a wedding before mine, and I see the photographer going in, and sometimes I can even sort of see through the window, or I'm standing in the waiting room and I can see into the room. And they've got 2 cameras maybe. One's got a 24 to 70 on, and one's got a 70 to 200 on. And I'm oversimplifying and overstating this, but basically they stand there, wind the thing in and out, take a shot, wind it back, take a shot, wind it out, take a shot. And that is as creative as they get. A prime lens will make you be more creative because you need to move. And once you start moving, once your feet start to do something, it just encourages the rest of you to think about a different angle. Can I get it from there? But what about if I get it through that flower? What about if I get a reflection in that mirror? It just does something to your head. Movement helps be creative. Prime lenses help you do that. And as far as image quality goes, prime lenses are just better than zooms, period. End of story. For a start, I use, because I've got Nikon Z lenses, they're all 1.8s. I haven't invested in a 1.2 lens. I just don't think it's necessary, and they're so big and huge and heavy and bulky to carry around for the whole day at a wedding is just not something I'm going to do. But 1.8s, and on my old DSLRs, they were 1.4s, and I've still got quite a few of those as well, which I sometimes put on those. But the image quality from prime lenses is always going to beat a zoom lens, even the ridiculously expensive, absolute top of the range zoom lenses are only going to be as good as a reasonably cheap prime lens. You could certainly buy 3 primes for the price of 1 very good zoom lens. Do it. As for gear in general, 2 cameras, both with 2 card slots. You must have backup. I always shoot RAW files to the main card and fine JPEGs to the backup card. Touch wood, I've never had a card fail. Just do that again. It could happen, in which case I've got fine JPEGs. Do not make the mistake I did once, and I've only ever done it once. Do not change your camera to shoot in black and white or some weird sort of bright vivid colours, because then your JPEGs, which one day might be the only photos you've got at the wedding, will be all black and white or all this ridiculous crazy colour or something like that. Just stick to standard normal sort of colours, so that if you have to use them as a backup, they are usable. Right, photography 1 done. Right, business 2. At some point, very early on, if you're going to be a wedding photographer, you need a website. And I'll put the link down below to my website. On that website, you need photographs. You need a portfolio. You need to put your work out there. It's what people are going to be buying. If they can't see what they're buying, they're not going to buy. On the other hand, if they don't like what they see, they're still not going to buy. So it's going to be, the photo's going to be something that people like, and we'll come on to producing photos that people are probably going to like shortly. But the website is your shop window. It does such a huge part in your business. It is absolutely the key to your wedding business. That doesn't mean you've got to pay a lot of money to get someone to do it for you. You can build your own website very easily. There are many companies out there that allow you to build a website. You may have heard of it, WordPress. WordPress is something that's been around since before I started. My first website I did was with WordPress, because back then I did software, I did internet marketing and that sort of thing before I did wedding photography. So I was pretty okay to build my own website. It was something I did all the time anyway. And I used WordPress. But then since then, other things have come along. I think GoDaddy has got their own website builder. The one I use is Wix. And I think overall, I'm not getting paid for this, I think Wix is a good all-round website builder. It's very simple to use. It has all the features you could possibly want. You can do bookings there. You've got chat boxes. You've got a nice variety of different looking galleries and to put your portfolio in. It reproduces photos very nicely on the screen. Some of the WordPress galleries, I'm going back now a few years, so maybe this has now changed, but they didn't give very nice looking photos on a decent size monitor. Okay on a phone, but put it on a big monitor and they really looked a bit ropey. But Wix, brilliant for that. My only gripe about Wix is when you go to upload photos, it is incredibly slow. I can upload, I use SmugMug, by the way, for my actual wedding galleries. And I can upload 250 photos to SmugMug in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Sometimes it can take that long to upload one photo to Wix. They've obviously throttled back their bandwidth and you just cannot upload many photos very quickly. That is my only gripe. And their support is a bit hit and miss as well. It's a bit slow at best, but you can eventually get something from them. So that's my suggestion for a website. As to what it looks like, you're a photographer, so it's got to be about photos. So it must look good. I've paid for, over the years, 2 or 3 people to give me their advice as specialists in the wedding industry about how to structure the website and what the ratio between text and photos should be, how many pages, internal links, and all sorts of other more complicated stuff. And this was aimed at search engine optimization, and it can get horrendously difficult. Thankfully, Wix has got quite good SEO. It's got a whole module devoted to SEO. It will look at your site. It will tell you what you need to do to get better search engine optimization. It's brilliant. But as to actually how many pages, how long the pages should be, how many photos, and this and that, there are no hard and fast rules. If on the course, if you join me on the course when it's actually ready, it's not ready yet, if you actually join me on the course, one of the things I will do is I will critique your photos, and I'll be happy to critique your website. I will give you my opinion of it. So you're going to have to put on your website photos that you've taken. How do you do that? Well, some of the things we've mentioned. If you do a bridal shoot, that is a brilliant way of getting some great photos to put on there. Maybe you've done some family shoots. You can put those on there. Try and stick to the couple shots, to the husband and wife, rather than the kids and the dog, because if it's about weddings. And do not make your website about family shoots, weddings, events, commercial. Don't do that. If you are a wedding photographer, you are a wedding photographer. You're not a family photographer. You're not a boudoir photographer. I have 3 websites. I've got my weddings, I've got boudoir, and I've got other stuff, commercial. Don't confuse people. If people are tiny bit confused, they'll go somewhere else. It has to be dead simple. It's weddings, period. So make sure the photos are obviously about weddings. What else have I got down here? And of course, maybe you can do get some wedding photos as a second shooter. And that, for anyone who hasn't done a wedding, is a good place to start. When I first started, I live in Suffolk in the UK, and I contacted, I guess 10, something like that, local photographers who were ranked pretty well in Google, and so they looked like they were pretty busy. Their photos looked good. Contacted 10. I think only 2 of them bothered to come back to me, and neither of those gave me a chance to be a second shooter. I never got that chance. Maybe it'll be different for you. Try it. It's a good way to get into weddings and to get some idea of what it's all about. Okay, let's talk a little bit about prices. I'm a member of the Facebook group called Beginners Wedding Photography or something like that. Obviously not as a beginner, but as someone who can comment and help other people. And I see a lot of questions on there about prices and packages. So let me give you a breakdown of my prices and packages. I'm in Suffolk in the UK, so it's outside London. Inside London, I could probably charge 30% more. I've seen prices from people in America and Australia actually as well, which are at least double what I charge for probably less than I do. So typical for the UK, everything is I was going to say everything is expensive. It's not. There's a huge amount of competition. People, I don't know. Here in the UK, photography doesn't seem as valued as I get the feeling that it is in certainly in America. I know from my bridal shoots I do. If I was in America, I wouldn't need to do weddings. I could just do boudoir photography, and I could make a decent living doing that. Here in the UK, it's a nice little sideline, and it's nice to do something different sometimes, and it just sort of changes your perspective and gets you to see things differently. I certainly couldn't make a living doing it, and I struggle to believe that anyone in the UK makes a living from doing bridal boudoir shoots. So photography here in the UK is different to other parts of the world, so take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt if you're somewhere else. My packages, and do not offer a menu. Boutique. Don't let them choose what they want, because if they have to make a decision, the decision will be, I'm going somewhere else. Don't make them work. 2 packages is all I offer. A full day, everything included, no extras, nothing. Or a 6-hour package, so it excludes either prep at the beginning or first dance and cake cutting at the end. So it's around about 6 hours. Both of them have got all the same stuff in. Obviously the 6-hour one has got a few less photos. And that's it. There's no extras. That's it. So what's included? A pre-wedding engagement shoot that sometimes gets changed to a post-wedding couple shoot, but a shoot other than the wedding day, and a consultation, coffee, cake, whatever, especially cake. So that's as much for me as it is for the couple. I have to do it sometimes, but I hate turning up at a wedding and say prep, and there's like 4 women in chairs having their hair or makeup done, and I don't even know which one's the bride. I do not like that feeling. I like to be able to turn up and think, that's her, I know her, we've spoken, we've had a bit of a laugh and joke over coffee, or I've taken some photos, she knows who I am, and it's just, like meeting an old friend, and we go from there. And that feeling that she then sort of emanates goes through everyone else, all the bridesmaids, and suddenly I'm part of this wedding party. When I turn up and I don't even know who the bride is, it just takes longer to break the ice, and is as I say, more uncomfortable. So that's before the wedding. Obviously on the wedding day, the whole wedding day, if it's the full day. Prep, I like to start, if I can time it so the bride has had a shower, she's out the shower, hair and makeup has got there 10-15 minutes before. That's the kind of time I like to turn up. If I turn up before that, there's really nothing to photograph other than the venue and maybe the dress and all that kind of stuff. But there's enough gaps in prep for me to do all that other stuff anyway. So that's the sort of time I like to turn up. Then all of prep, obviously, and then the rest of the day. And again, we'll go through that in the course in fine detail. Through to first dance, and a bit beyond if there's people on the dance floor. Quite often, first dance and everyone just disappears. But if they're on the dance floor, I will stay another 15-20 minutes. Or if there's something like fireworks or sparklers or something like that, then again, I'll stay for that as well. Afterwards, I get photos back to the bride and groom within 7 days. I see people, that question gets asked quite a lot on the Facebook group as well, and some photographers come back and say, oh, in my contract, by the way, I'll come back to that in a second, in my contract, I state 3 months. 3 months? What the hell are you doing for 3 months? In the middle of summer, I have at least 1 wedding a week, probably more like 5 or 6 a month. If I don't keep on top of editing, by the time I get to the end of the summer, I'm going to be like 10 weddings behind, and I'm going to have 10 weddings stacked up waiting to be edited, processed, uploaded, etc. I hate being that far behind and having that feeling of being pressurised. So I like to sit down and get it done. So if the wedding's on the Saturday, I'll have the Sunday off, unless I've got a consultation or an engagement shoot or something else. Try not to. I'll try and have 1 day off. Monday, I will sit down, answer any urgent emails for 10-15 minutes, and then I'll start editing. And on the Monday, I will edit and upload the photos to the gallery. I'll cover this in a minute, but there's also the ceremony video I'll upload, and on the Tuesday I will try and get the highlight video done. I'll mention that in a moment as well, and get that uploaded by the Wednesday. On the Thursday I will email the couple with a link to their gallery and the videos and everything else, and I can kind of, the urgent stuff's out of the way. They've still got to come back to me to give me the photos for the album, that I'm then creating the album. I do tend to let those stack up a bit, because my priority is to edit the photos and get them out to the couple. Sorry, I didn't mention, on the Sunday I will spend half an hour editing 10 or 15 photos, upload them to the gallery, send the bride and groom a link so that they can use those photos to put them on their Facebook, social media, whatever, rather than using one of their friends' phone pictures. And of course it just gives them a chance to mention, oh, Alan did a great job at our wedding yesterday, here's some photos, blah blah blah. It all helps, but only for about half an hour. Right, my packages. So I will photograph on the day around about, on a full day, around about 1,000, 1,200 shots. I will edit and I will select and edit 250-ish, 260, 240, something in that sort of ballpark, and upload those to the gallery. The gallery, as I mentioned earlier, is with SmugMug, and the reason I do that is Wix, as I say, takes overnight to upload a gallery. With SmugMug it's 20 minutes. They're very nicely presented. You can password protect, you can stop them downloading, you can do all sorts of things, and it's about £8 or £9 a month. It's brilliant. I've got, I think, about 300 galleries up there now, and it just looks very professional. So 250 photos. During the day I will take my camera, which has got this little switch which says stills or video, and I'll flick that across to video, and I will take a 30-second clip during prep, and I'll do that 2 or 3 times during prep. I will do that at other times in the day when there's not a lot happening. So for the key parts of the day, so for the ceremony, I will video the whole ceremony from a tripod. I just stick the camera on the tripod, aim it at the couple, turn it on before she walks down the aisle, and turn it off when the end of the ceremony comes. It's not Hollywood, it's not exciting, but it's the video of the couple's ceremony, and they get that unedited, apart from chopping the beginning and the end off. That's part of my package. They also get the highlight video, so all the clips I take on the camera and parts of the ceremony, the speeches, the cake cutting, the first dance, prep, people having fun in between, all that kind of stuff, and make a 20-25 minute video, bits of music added here and there. Again, it's not super professional, it's not anything that I think is that anyone would find too difficult to do. but it's another way for them to see their wedding. And most of the time, yeah, all the time, people come back, and if they say anything, it's love the highlight video, absolutely gorgeous. So well worth including. And I use Wondershare, Filmora video editor to do that. Again, I'm not sure what it costs. It's not a huge amount, £10 a month, something like that. So I've uploaded the gallery. When I upload the gallery photos, I will also upload the ceremony video, because the editing on that is literally 4 or 5 minutes. Export it as an MP4 file and upload that with the photos. So they've got all their photos and the ceremony video within a week. The highlight videos, I say, can take somewhat longer. And the album, both my packages include an album. So people will come back to me. I ask them to come back to me with about 40 photos from the gallery to put in the album. I'll actually get, it's a 20-page, 12 by 12 hardcover, to be honest, fairly low-end wedding album. But it still looks quite presentable. It's, you know, it feels okay. It doesn't feel cheap by any means, but it doesn't cost too much. I'll put around about an average of about 3 photos per page. Obviously some pages have got 1 big photo, centre spread, other pages have got 5 or 6 photos on. In total, usually about 60 photos in the album. So they've given me 40, so I've got 20 other photos I can add, which allows me to space things out and add a photo to make a nice page layout and give them a nice album. Depending on how long they take to come back to me with photos, that can happen the following week, it can happen the following year, or 2 actually. But I don't chase them. I let them come back to me whenever they're ready with the photos for the album. Prices. So for the full day package, everything included that I've just mentioned, £12.85. I'm absolutely convinced I could charge probably £1,600–1,700. I would obviously lose a few people. And I love doing wedding photography. I really do. And I actually prefer doing more weddings at that price than charging 50% more and losing some of those weddings. It's me. There are, and I've done some research, a little bit sneaky here, on some of the top price wedding photographers in my area. I pretended to be a bride, and I'm pretty convinced that the photographers charging, say, twice as much as I do, and there are a handful charging twice what I do in my area, I'm convinced that they're only getting 2, maybe 3 weddings during peak season, rather than myself, where I'm doing 5 or 6 a month during peak season. That's just me. You can charge more and do less. You know, if you charge 3 or 4 times as much, you probably get 1 wedding a month, and that might suit you. So it's up to you how you do the pricing. The other one, the 6-hour one, is £985. If, when you're starting out, you're wondering what price to charge, that is really difficult. Do some research locally, because it depends where you are. I wouldn't suggest doing it for free. Anything you do for free, not just photography, in life in general, is worthless. It has no worth if someone doesn't pay something for it. And in my experience, when I started out, I started out fairly cheaply. I think my first one, I made a note of it, £249 was my first wedding. That was only about 4 hours work. It was a ceremony and a few group shots in the garden afterwards. And as I've gone through my wedding career, the people that have given me biggest headaches and being the biggest pain in the butt are those that pay the least amount of money. The people that phone you up and say, are you free on this date? Yeah, I am. Okay, what's your bank? Can I send you the deposit? And they pay the full price and there's no questions. Those people are never any problem. They're brilliant. It's the ones who nitpick and ask about every single detail before they even book. These people are going to be a problem. Just a word of warning. Which reminds me of, I've said about contract. I don't have a contract. My approach to weddings and to life in general is, if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it to the absolute best of my ability. If shit happens, I will do my best to get round it. I also expect my couple to do the same. If I say this is what it's going to cost, I don't expect them to haggle about the price 2 weeks before their wedding. I don't expect them to start asking for something that I said that I hadn't said I would give them. Like most photographers, I occasionally get couples come back and say, can I have all the raw files? To which I say, well, no, that wasn't part of the package. That wasn't part of what I said I would do, and blah, 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 blah. So, sorry, no. But they do get everything I said I would give them, always. And a bit more if I can. My contract is my email that I send them, the proposal, listing everything that happens, when it happens, what I will do throughout the day, what I will give them afterwards, what the price is. That is my contract. That's as complicated as I get, and in 250 weddings, it's never caused me a problem. I think if you start getting too much involved in contracts, sign here, do this, do that, I think you're making a rod for your own back. Maybe different in America, but certainly here in the UK, I am perfectly comfortable doing what I do the way I do it. And I don't think a contract would be of any benefit whatsoever. That's my view. Right, let's move on. So, photography 2. We are talking about the actual photos you'll take on the day. For me, and I think for probably most wedding photographers, most of the shots during the day are documentary photos. So certainly all of prep is documentary. So it's just a matter of having the camera, being in the right place at the right time, with the right setting, with the right lens, with the right aperture and the speed, which is why I said earlier, know how to work this thing, and just waiting for the moment. And when something happens, and here's where some experience comes in as well, you can kind of read what's going to happen, and you think, well, in the moment she's going to spray that hairspray onto the bride's hair. I've got a backlight, I'm in the right place to get that backlight as the spray comes across, and I'm shooting through some flowers or something here, or getting a reflection of something, or I'm shooting through one of the other bridesmaids. She's got her hand up like that, and I'm shooting kind of through her arm or something like that. Those sort of shots are what I spend my time trying to find. As I say, I can imagine people with zoom lenses kind of standing in the corner of the room, zooming in, take a shot there, wait for something else to happen, take a shot there, and not really being involved. I tend to use, for prep, I would use a 35 or a 24 lens. Get involved, get close. You know, I'm often as close, if not closer, to the bride than the hair and makeup artists are. You know, I'm here and she's like here, and I'm getting a shot there, getting a shot of her eyelashes, or the makeup artist sort of putting her lippy on and that kind of real close-up stuff, but with a short lens. Get involved. They don't mind. That's what you're there for. So documentary photography all the way through the day. What happens? Occasionally I'll miss a shot. Of course, there'll be a good shot. She'll spray this hairspray. at the moment that I was shooting through someone's arm, at the moment she brought her arm down and got in the way. I might then say to the hero maker, can you just do that again for me? Okay, it happens. I wouldn't set it up. I wouldn't say to the bride, can you go and sit in that chair? Can you sit just in front of that window? Makeup artist, that's not what it's about. Don't create what doesn't exist, in my view. But do not miss what does exist. Get the shot. Now, of course, some parts of the wedding are posed. You've got the group shots, families. I start with everyone, so the whole of the wedding party, and then we'll go through a list that I've asked the bride and groom to do, a list of shots that they want, because I don't know what they want, I've no idea. Go through that list, her family, his family, the groomsmen, the bridesmaids, the brothers, the sisters, so on and so forth, until we end up with the couple. And just going back to those group shots, please try and find somewhere interesting to do these shots. 15 people standing like this does not make a good photo. Believe me, it's atrocious. One of the biggest things you can do to make your photos better of groups is find some elevation, steps, even things like picnic tables, chairs, a sloping bank of grass. Have some people sit down, some standing up. If there's a wall, have some people sitting on the wall, some people standing on the wall. Break it up. Get rid of this line. As long as you can get rid of this line and have a little bit of stacking of people in different layers, don't forget how that's going to affect the aperture on your camera. You will get some much more interesting shots of groups. On to the couple shots. This Facebook beginners group that I mentioned, and people post their photos for critique, they almost always are posting shots of the couple. For me, those shots of the couple represent probably, of my 1,000 or 1,200 photos, I will probably have 30 or 40 tops shots of the couple. All the rest are, apart from the group and family shots obviously, will be documentary as they happen without me interfering in any way at all. Yes, they're important, and because they are important, the way I approach is I try and do the couple shots as if every single one is going to go into the album. So I want one shot of the couple that's going to be the centre spread. It's going to take up 2 pages. I want them off centre. I want the venue or something in taking up most of the negative space to one side of the couple. If they're on this side of the page, I want them looking into the negative space and vice versa. I want the light and shadow to be exaggerated almost. I want them to be in the light and quite happy to have completely black shadows going off to the side. If another sort of shot that I get a lot is backlit, so have something that attracts the viewer's eye to the bright part and put the bride and groom there, which might mean using some off-camera flash. I don't use it a lot. I just have one tripod with one flash on and one of my cameras with a transmitter on, and I might use off-camera flash just to put a bit of light back into them in that sort of situation. But don't make it complicated. I made the mistake when I first started of I would go out with the couple shoot with like 2 light stands with umbrellas and reflectors and 2 cameras and a lens bag, and keep it simple. As I said earlier, I'll take one camera because you know where you're going, you know the shot you're going to get, you know what lens you want, and most of the time, by the way, that'll be a 50, because a 50, if you're too far away and they're not big enough in the frame, well, guess what? You can walk forward, and with a 50 you'll get very little distortion. You can do portraits with a 50 lens. You can walk backwards and you can get shots of big landscape kind of shots with them in the corner. Keep it simple. Posing. You are not dealing with professional models. This is a bride and groom who are they're probably wanting to get good photos of themselves, but they really don't know how. They don't know what to do. So you've got to tell them. And I actually watched a free video. I digress. I watched a free video by a certain Australian wedding photographer who now lives in America. I won't mention his name. He sells a course at a huge amount of money about photography. I think it's mainly wedding photography as well, but just photography, not the business side or anything like that. And it was a behind the scenes of getting a shot of the bride at the end of her prep. This wasn't all the way through, this was just at the end. So she just put her dress on and he's getting the shot. And I kid you not, it took 20 minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes to get this one shot of the bride in her dress. And then he asked her to move and he did another shot from a different angle with different light. And that took, maybe that was a bit quicker, 10 minutes. No, don't go there. I'm pretty certain that in this behind the scenes shot, that wasn't a real bride, that was actually a model, just for the way she did things. Most people, when you ask them, okay, can you turn your chin to the left and just look down for me? They'll do that. I mean, it's just, I think I'm quite good at giving instructions, and I actually do. Can you turn your chin that way and just look down for me? And they still go, I just don't get it. You'll get so frustrated trying to get pose shots of couples, and especially the sort of, once they start getting kissy, cuddly and intimate and a bit romantic, telling them what to do, it's just such hard work. Guys, just tell them to stick their hands in their pockets, or at least one, and have one that can interact with the bride. Fiddling with her necklace or playing with an acorn, and if she's standing on her own, get her to pretend she's got, I haven't got anything here I can use, a battery. A battery. Pretend you've got a battery and you're just sort of fiddling with this battery like that. Get them to do something, not pose. If they pose, the shot will look posed, it will look artificial, it will look rubbish. They need to be relaxed and natural, and the way to do that is to get them to do something. So something like, Matt, can you stand behind Chloe? Whisper something silly in her ear. And so he's then going to get in the right position to whisper something in her ear. She's going to look round to him slightly like that. She'll probably get a smile on her face. They're now interacting. They've forgotten about you taking their photo. It will look 10 times better than you trying to say, right, Matt, get behind her and put your hands just here. And then, Chloe, can you you can take 10 times longer to get the shot, and it won't be as good. Just keep it dead simple, quick and natural. I think I finished on photo 2. Yeah, let's get on to business 3. Business 3. What have I got here? Right, so you've now got some inquiries from people through the stuff you've been doing that we talked about in business 1. So you've got this someone who phones you up. You pick the phone up. Are you free on this date? Let me just check my diary. Always say that. Never say yes, of course I am. Check your diary. Yeah, I'm free on that date. So where are you getting married? Ask questions. Okay. If it's a phone conversation, which actually is pretty rare these days, but the same kind of thing applies to email, text, WhatsApp, Facebook messages, chats on your website. And I'm just mentioning these because that is a huge problem. You can get messages from so many different places. I'll come on to that in a second. That following up can be really difficult. But when they make that initial contact, ask questions. Get them to come back to you. Don't tell them. I almost said don't tell them what they want to know. That's not what I mean. Don't offer what they haven't asked for. Ask questions after question after question. But make the questions, ask them in such a way that you are genuinely interested. So where are you getting married? Oh, that's a lovely venue, isn't it? I've never been there in my life. Wonderful. And in June, oh, it's going to look fantastic, isn't it? So how many bridesmaids have you got? Keep it natural, keep it flowing, and don't try and book them. Just take an interest in what their wedding is all about. And that goes for any other form of communication as well. Do not ask for their wedding. Do not ask to be their photographer. Ask them questions. Get them, because they're interested. It's their wedding. They love it. And they love talking about it. So let them tell you. And as you get more and more into that conversation, you will become more likely to get booked. Now, to do this, initially, of course, you get one inquiry. It all starts with one inquiry. For myself, I probably get, well, in the course, I've worked out the numbers. And for every wedding I book, I've forgotten the numbers, I've got them written down somewhere, but just off the top of my head, for every wedding I book, I probably do a consultation with, or a Zoom or a WhatsApp FaceTime thing, something like that, some sort of personal contact with two people, probably about 50% book. To get that Zoom, WhatsApp, cup of coffee, engagement shoot, this is the no obligation free engagement shoot, which is part of a Facebook advertising strategy, again in the course. To get that, there's probably got to be, I think it's around about 7 or 8 contacts that you're sending emails to, quite often just sending them to and not getting anything back. But to get that one, as I say, cup of coffee, you've got to have 8 people that you're offering a cup of coffee to. And the numbers kind of snowball. So you're going to end up with this huge mountain of people to keep in touch with. And if you don't keep in touch with them, you can't do... Actually, let me just digress back to pretending to be a bride and contacting one of my local very expensive wedding photographers. I think I contacted 5. 3 of them sent me one email saying, this is me, these are my prices, this is what I do, end of story. 2 of them sent me a much more friendly email, tell me more about your wedding, along the lines that I just said. But only one of those 2 followed up with any sort of future communication. She came back to me probably 3 times before she gave up. I contact people 9 times. I have a set of emails that once someone has contacted me by email, then I will then set up, it's in a client management system that I use, which is called Light Blue software. Once I've got their initial email address, I just set up a workflow and it will send them an email every, well, it varies, 3 or 4 days, 2 days, the next day, 6 or 7 days. It's not a set sort of pattern. And I've had people book me 2 months after that last 9th email. They've got them somewhere on their machine, and at some point the time is right, they look back and think, who was that guy who kept sending us emails? And they look back, oh, there he is. Right, we'll book him. If I hadn't have kept sending those emails, I wouldn't have got that wedding. You need to be able to contact people to keep on top of all this information. How did they first contact you? Was it WhatsApp? Was it through the chat on your website? Was it via a Freebie wedding website? How did it happen? You need to be able to note that down. I've tried cards, spreadsheets. There's a thing on Google Mail. There's a clever thing there you can use on Gmail. I've tried all of those. The only thing that works, Light Blue software. It's a little bit expensive. It's, I think, about 25, nearly £30 a month probably. £360 a year. It's only got to get you one wedding every 2 years and it's paid for itself. And believe me, it will do a heck of a lot better than that. Photo 3. So photography 3. We're going to talk about, we've almost actually talked about this because videos, I mentioned as part of my package, I do the ceremony video and the highlight video. Mention the package that I use to edit that. That's Wondershare Filmora, I think it's called. Obviously for editing the photos I use Lightroom, and editing is really, really important. Again, going back to this Facebook group, many people post photos on there saying, what do you think of these? Give me a critique on these wedding photos that I've done. And what I find a lot, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be sexist, but I find a lot of women more than men, and especially around where I live, there's quite a number of women, are very good women wedding photographers. But so many of them, not all, but many of them edit their photos like every day's middle of summer. And on their website and their Instagram account, all you'll see is photos that look like summer. And then you'll read the details, blah, 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 in October. How the hell did it look like that in October? And it's just not realistic. So my rule number 1 for editing is keep it realistic. I've played around with different presets and I've got a whole set of presets that I use in Lightroom, but I'll use them in the right place. I've got dark is one. So if I'm in a hotel, an old hotel with oak panelled walls, and it's like it is now, it's the end of October, so it's dark at whatever time, 4:30 something, and we're using artificial light, but it's still really dark. It's got almost pitch dark corners and that kind of thing. Then I'll use that editing preset called dark, and it will emphasize and it will take in all the rich tones, and give me the right sort of white balance. It just works in that situation. And then I've got another one which is summer, light and airy. So for the summer weddings I do, the outdoor weddings where the ceremony's outside and it's 29 degrees, and the gentle breeze blowing, and the blue sky, I'll use that one, which is totally different look to dark. And I've got about, as I say, I've got about 7 or 8 of these, and I'll use each one appropriately. Sometimes different ones for different parts of the wedding. In fact, always different ones for different parts of the wedding, so that it looks realistic, but makes the photo look a lot better. There's going to be probably 2 lessons in the course about editing, because it's such a big part of what we do these days. And with Lightroom, the latest version of Lightroom, subject detect, and what's the latest thing? Lens blur is the latest thing that they've sent me as one of their sort of beta testers. You can take a shot taken at f8 and make it look like it's taken at 1.2, with all the background blurred and so on. Anyway, we'll see. But you can do so much that that's going to require a couple of hours. Yeah, probably a couple of hours lesson in the course. Right, I think I'm going to call that it there. Just a very brief round up with a what is the course all about. By the way, I hope you found this useful. I hope you've got something out of this that might be useful for your wedding photography. The course, as I say, I'm working on it. It won't be done for another 2 months. But in the meantime, I am taking on people as, not as testers, because I'm still going to ask some money for it, but to get lots and lots of feedback on how to develop the course and the best way to go from here. The course will be a PDF document. It's going to be probably about 100 pages, going through everything to do with business and photography, which will be used alongside a video. So you'll print the PDF off and you'll have the PDF, and I'll be doing a video, and you can make your own notes against that part of the course. I think that's important, because to make it yours and to own it and to understand it and to adapt it for exactly who you are and what you do, where you live and so on and so forth, you're going to want some flexibility, and I think that's the best way to actually teach. It's the style of the video is much like this. We will be looking at the computer a lot more, certainly when it comes to things like editing and websites and all that kind of stuff. I will also be there'll be a Facebook group, private group, so that you can post your photos, get critiques, get ideas from other people. Maybe if you find someone who's close to you, even meet up for coffee and that sort of thing. I will do a weekly 1 hour Zoom where everyone who's bought the course can join me on the Zoom, ask questions about next week's wedding. What should I do here? How do I do that? Last week's wedding, I did this, I cocked up. How can I fix it? And so on and so forth. I think that's going to be really helpful to get not just me, but there'll be other people on the Zoom call, and they can throw in their thoughts as well. That'll all be part of it. Okay, that's about it. Price wise, it's going to be around about the £600, $600. Why is that? When I buy my Z8 here in the UK, it's £4,000. If I go to America and buy it, it's $3,999, which equates to about £3,600. Why is that? Anyway, so I'll do the same. It'll be, I'm not setting it in stone, but probably around about £600 here, $600 in the States. More information coming out. If you would like to sort of pre-register and see the course as it exists at the moment, and as I'm doing this video, I've done about 15% of the course, but it will get you into it. And it's going to take you a while to go through the course, and by the time you catch up with where I've got to, we'll probably be 50, 60, 70% through the course, and the rest will be coming along as soon as I can do it. We're into winter now, so I'm not so busy, and hopefully I can get on with the course and get that done fairly quickly. I hope you found that interesting, useful. You might think, there's no way I can watch this guy on a course. What's he on about? It's not for me. Fine. You know where you stand. You might think, yeah, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And if so, as I say, just drop your details over, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. And whatever you do, I wish you the very best with the pursuit of your dream. Cheers for now.